Hi, my name is Mo. Happy New Year and welcome to my channel. So today, to celebrate the brand new year 2025, I am going to talk about my New Year's resolutions for 2025. But first, let me give you a little bit of a history. So in October of 2023, I decided I wanted to learn how to crochet. Went to my local big box store, bought the cheapest yarn and supplies I could find, sat down, and taught myself how to crochet. I fell in love. Like, I was absolutely hooked and decided 2024, my New Year's resolution was going to be become a yarn lady. That was my goal for 2024. Gotta say, I crushed it. In fact, I overachieved on it because I not only became a crochet lady, I became a knitting lady and I became a yarn lady in general. And I still just as hooked today as I was back in October of 2023. So 2025, I kind of want to challenge myself a little bit more than I did in 2024. Like, 2024 was just become a crochet lady, whatever that means. There wasn't really anything specific that I was like, oh, I want to learn how to do Tunisian crochet or tapestry or whatever. It was just become a crochet lady. So this year I have some more specific goals, not just in crochet, but in yarn and in knitting as well. And so let's get into that. And we're going to start with yarn. As I sort of alluded to already, when I first started crocheting, I didn't know anything about yarn. I didn't know about yarn weight. I didn't know about fibers or what kinds of yarn are easy to work with or more difficult to work with. I knew nothing. I just knew I had some coupons, there was a sale, there was yarn, they were pretty colors. That's it, done. I didn't want to invest too much into a hobby that there was a possibility that I might just not ever go back to after a couple of weeks. If you are a chronic hobby starter, you might understand where I'm coming from on that one. But yeah, I just didn't know anything back then. And I ended up with a bunch of yarn that I don't really enjoy working with. I won't go so far as to say I hate that yarn, but if I have an option of not working with that yarn, I will just not work with it. It either irritates my hands, or it's like really stiff and hard to work with, or the worst offender, it squeaks on my hook. If you know, you know. Ugh. So this year, 2025, I want to use up all that yarn. I want to get it out of my stash. I want to get it out of my life. And I want to go about rebuilding my yarn stash with yarns that I actually enjoy working with. So yeah, this year, make things with it that I either use myself, that I give to other people, or that I donate somewhere. And at the end of the year, if there's any of that yarn left over, I will donate it or give it to someone that can and actually will use it. Second yarn goal, number 2, and this could technically go into either knitting or crochet, but I don't know if it's going to be knitting or crochet either way. In March of 2024, or maybe it was April, my local yarn store was hosting a knit along. And if you bought a certain pattern and you bought the yarn for it, you got a discount, and then you could participate in this knit along. And I was really excited. I was like, ooh, that sounds like a lot of fun. I'll take a knitting class. I'll learn how to knit. I'll have a couple of weeks practicing knitting, and then I could participate in this knit along. And I gotta say, I greatly overestimated my ability to pick up knitting. And it was kind of shocking because I picked up crochet actually pretty fast. Like, something about crochet just makes sense in my head. Knitting does not. There is a steep learning curve on knitting for me where I just can't make sense of how things work. So, needless to say, I left that knitting class not just not knowing how to knit, but realizing how difficult it was for me to learn how to knit. And I did not end up participating in that knit along. You might be saying to yourself, well, then now that you know how to knit, why don't you just make that pattern? Here's another thing that I've learned this year. I'm not a shawl lady. Yeah, the pattern that we were going to make for that knit along was the Artus shawl. I don't remember the name of the designer, but I will link it down below, and I will put a picture of it somewhere on this screen so you can see it. It's beautiful. And I mean, if you look at it, like, that is why I wanted to participate in this knit along, because it's absolutely stunningly gorgeous. But I will never use that. Like, I'll make it, I'll have it, and I'll just be like, yeah, I made this thing. Done. And I don't want to do that. I want to knit something that I will actually use, or crochet something. So I have all this yarn for this project, and it's beautiful yarn in beautiful colors. Like, I picked them out myself, and this was like local yarn store yarn. This wasn't big box store yarn. So I really want to use this yarn. I want to find a project for it, and I want to make something that I love out of this yarn by the end of the year. Whether it's knit or crochet, doesn't matter, but I want to use this yarn. Those are my yarn goals. One of them is going to be a big giant challenge. Not gonna lie, I'm kind of nervous about that one because I'm gonna have to work with yarn I don't like. But the other one, I think is gonna be fun once I figure out what pattern I want. Next up, let's talk about crochet goals. And I'm gonna start with the one that I'm gonna try not to get on a tangent about, because this one's hard for me to not be annoyed and go on a tangent about. Very early on in my crochet journey, I admitted on social media that I enjoy crocheting and knitting and stuff like that. And the algorithm heard me and started feeding me ads for Annie's Crochet Club. And boy, did I get influenced. Oh, their pictures are gorgeous. The projects are beautiful. And I was like, I want to make that so bad. And I did something stupid. I got 2 of them, but not the 2 that influenced me. I got 2 of them that I was like, yeah, I can do those. I'll learn how to do those stitches and stuff like that. And then once I've finished with those 2, I can get the big one that make my eyes go all sparkly and stuff. I still haven't finished them. I still have Annie's Crochet Club is still in the envelope, just sitting there waiting for me to do them. So that is my goal. Well, one of my crochet goals is to finish my Annie's Crochet Club kits and then move on with my life. I will make a video fully talking about Annie's Crochet Club and my experience with them, but we'll leave it there because I could go on about them. Yeah, I'm trying not to get distracted. Let's move on to my second crochet goal, shall we? Yeah, let's just move on. So Next up, I want to make a granny square sweater vest, a la Bella from Breathing Yarn. I will link to her video down below, and I'll put a picture of it somewhere on the screen here. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful sweater vest. She did an amazing job. And I love her video that she talked about her process of kind of exploring what she wanted in a granny square sweater vest, and how she got to the point where she made the vest that she made, and what she likes about it, what she doesn't like, how she would change it. She kind of really goes into her creative process. And that was very inspiring for me. So I want to make a granny square sweater vest, and I don't want to make a replica of what she did, but I kind of want to go through that same process of making a bunch of granny squares and making like a prototype sweater vest so that I can figure out what I want in a sweater vest, and then eventually making that ideal sweater vest, the one that I feel great about, you know? So I really want to do that, and I highly recommend watching her video down below. Like I said, it'll be linked down in the description. It was a really good video, and I really, really got inspired by it. Also, her sweater vest is so darn cute. I want something like that. So those are my crochet goals. These might not sound very challenging, but I would like to remind you of my yarn goal, which is using the yarn that I don't like working with. And I have a feeling that a lot of that yarn I don't like working with is going to be crochet projects. So I feel like I'm going to have my crochet dance card full, and I'm going to have my hands just constantly crocheting to use up that yarn. We'll get there, but I'm trying to be light on myself with the crochet goals, because using that yarn, I feel like I'm gonna be pushing myself to do more creative projects that excite me, so that I'm excited to work with the yarn that I don't like. Anyway, next up is knit goals. And this is really where I am going to be challenged. As I said, knitting did not come naturally to me. I did not pick it up very easily. It took a lot of trial and error and practice, and I'm still not very confident with it. Like with crochet, I'm super confident, and I have no qualms about frogging back a whole bunch of stuff if it looks kind of weird and then starting again. I have no problems experimenting with some pretty advanced things just to do it, just to try. With knitting though, because it doesn't come naturally, because I don't all the way understand how it works, I get kind of brain locked about it, and I would like to lose that. So number one knitting goal, you've been looking at it this entire time, this sweater. Now, I love this sweater. I am this sweater's number one fan. I think it's amazing. I will have it forever. I am so insanely proud of this sweater. This is the first knit or even crochet garment I ever made, and I love it. The problem is that I made a lot of mistakes on it, and I made this sweater knowing I was going to make a lot of mistakes. But one of the mistakes I made is, if you can see, I made the sweater way too big. I did not fully comprehend, how do I put this? I didn't fully comprehend the effect of gravity on the fabric, because when I had it laying down and was comparing it to another piece of clothing that I have that I like the sizing of, I was like, oh yeah, that looks good. That looks like it'll fit, and it's the same size. And then I put it on and it just grew and grew and grew. I ended up having to take off about 1.5 feet of length because it ended up coming down past my knees. It was very long. It was very long, and it's very, very wide. So I would like to remake this sweater. And in fact, I think what I really want to do is I want to really nail down my perfect recipe for a top-down raglan sweater. You know, I want to find out what my gauge is and what my, you know, how many increases along the raglan is right for me on different kinds of yarn. And I want to, and so yeah, I want to remake this sweater with the same yarn, the same ribbing and everything. I just want to make it a little more fitted. Yeah. I mean, I went into this wanting an oversized sweater, but this is a little oversized for me. I would like it to be less oversized than this. So yeah, that is knitting goal number 1. Knitting goal number 2 is very, very similar, and that is in November of 2024, just a few months ago, I took a sock knitting class, and I really enjoyed it, and I made a pair of socks. They're very cute. I like them. I enjoyed knitting them, but kind of like this sweater, I went into this knowing I was going to make a lot of mistakes. I had a lot to learn, and I want to, just like with the top-down raglan sweater, I want to find my perfect recipe for socks. And I do have a couple of videos and resources and guides and patterns that I want to try out. Like, I want to try out the vanilla sock. I want to try out the one sock. There's a couple of other resources that I was looking at. So I really want to try those out and make some socks that fit my feet in such a way that it feels like they were the things that were missing from my feet. That's my goal. It might take me more than a year to get there, but I want to at least make some really good progress this year on achieving that goal. Third knitting goal requires me to accomplish this goal first, and that is I want to make my sea glass sweater. I have the yarn for it. I'll see if I can insert the yarn that I have for it. So the sea glass pattern as written is a circular yoke pattern, and I don't know what it is, but I don't really like circular yokes. And I know why they did it, because they want like the striping and the color work to go across and, you know, along the sleeves and stuff like that. I don't care about that part. I don't really like circular yokes though. I prefer the raglan style sleeve. And so I want to make a sea glass style sweater, but in a top-down raglan pattern. Yeah, so still giving credit to Wool and Pine on that, but I'm making it raglan instead of circular. And I want to do that before Christmas because the yarn that I have is Christmas yarn. And again, I'll show clips of what that yarn looks like so you can see it. And then finally, if there is one of these goals that gets dropped, it's going to be this next one, my 4th knitting goal. And that is learn how to do cables. Now, I have been told by people in my real life, friends, family, members of my weekly yarn group, people in online communities, I have been told time and time again that cables are super duper easy. They just look intimidating. Okay, but they look intimidating and I am intimidated, especially because, again, I can't stress this enough, knitting does not come naturally to me. It is not something that clicks and that I fully understand what I'm doing when I'm doing it. So I want to give it a shot. I want to try. I want to learn how to cable. But I might have my hands full of my other knitting goals. And also, I have yet to find a pattern that I'm super excited to try. So I might have to do some Ravelry searches to find a cable knit sweater or a cable knit something that makes me just go, wow, I want to make that. Or maybe socks. I don't know. I would like to try cables. But I'm okay if I wait until next year to do it. Meaning 2026. Anyway, those are my goals. And if you haven't guessed it already, another one of my goals is to document my progress this year. That's what this video is. That's what this channel is going to be. I kind of wish I had documented my progress in 2024. There were a lot of things that I wish I like learning how to knit, knitting this sweater, knitting the socks. I wish I had documented that progress because even though I have the finished products, being able to share the process of getting there or just being able to look back and see how far I've come, that I wish I had done that. But I can't do anything about it now. I can only move forward, and I really want to start documenting my progress with my 2025 goals. So yeah, I will start documenting my progress on the projects that I'm making, and I'll be posting here more often. So if you want to follow along, please subscribe down below. And hopefully in the next couple of days, I will be uploading a video about working on my first Yarn I Don't Like project, which, give you a sneak peek, it's right here. So hope to see you there. Happy New Year.